Meet Your Maker, first to review. I tried the game a couple hours, so you don't have to. This is another free monthly PlayStation game for April, and this one is actually released with becoming one of those games. So it is brand new, and I gotta say, it's really cool at its core. It's a game that has really great potential and impressive player involvement and agency, with a gameplay loop revolving around spelunking through maze-like missions that are player-made, so you can get some nice elements of challenge, strategy, creativity, suspense, and satisfying sequences. So the overall game has a lot going for it, and I will go through the details of what is making things compelling in it, as well as the small things that they can patch up to improve. Bizarrely, the primary go-lad of this game is actually maybe the hardest thing to get behind, as your goal is to steal genetic material and raid that from different areas to give to the timekeeper from Rick and Morty.
I got ambitions, man!
Who wants genetic purification to save the world, which is a little awkward. Like, I'm curious if part of the Chimera's evolution is a small block mustache. I mean, even listen to this pronunciation of cure.
Cure was not quickly found. Cure.
Don't even try to tell me that's not Führer.
I cannot argue that.
But outside of feeling like you're funding the final solution, the game's pretty neat. But let's talk a little bit more about the actual gameplay here. All missions are designed by other players, and they have good incentives to actually try to trick you and cause deaths, as it is something that will fuel them with resources, and they will be rewarded for the deaths that they cause to other players. So it behooves people to actually put some effort into their base that they're trying to make as challenging as possible. And the involvement of the other player makes this not only feel like you're kind of solving a puzzle and trying to uncover something and raid something, but also like it's a little bit of a competition. You're trying to get into the head of the creator and pick apart different things that they were thinking as they made their mission. And then as you go about picking up and predicting tendencies, it gets so satisfying when you feel like you've figured out how they think. And on the flip side, when you get cleverly tricked into something, it can feel somewhat personable and fun still, but also constructive because you're going to be making your own mission. Oh, you almost got me, you cunt. And you can now incorporate the smart elements of other people's work into your own. It creates a wonderful cycle of seeing what you like and what makes for a good mission, and then you can put those things together, so that loop is sweet and has a pretty good flow to it. What doesn't, but is still great, is the movement. The movement can feel a little funky and disjointed because of the nature of the grapple hook. It's really like a straight line delivery where it's pulling you exactly into where it grasps. I don't like that word. Plural of it is a nightmare. Essentially the reason I changed cheekers, by the way. But they actually did some really smart things with the grapple. It has no cooldown, so you can spam that thing as much as you want. And you can also detach freely with it, and this gives you a couple different elements to work with. It makes you faster, it can help you strafe, it can free up your weapon. And these are all options that are constantly available to you because you don't have to wait between uses of the grapple. And you'll still be able to keep it intact as well, and it will bring you to the exact location that you latched onto. You kind of get the best of all worlds with this grapple, and it really frees up the rest of the pretty lackluster movement. But you don't need anything else when you got a dope-ass grapple. That's like video game rule number 1. Another really satisfying element that the grapple plays into is the bullet reclaim mechanic. With the starting weapon, you only get 2 shots, and you kind of have to retrieve your bullet after each one. Being able to just grapple directly into where that bullet is stuck is so fun to fly into that, instantly recharge, and have another shot. Comboing this to instantly take out a guard or a trap is a fantastic feeling. Though the fundamental feel of this game is great, let's talk about a lot of little things that are a bit lacking in this one. The game feels like it's got a lot of empty space and sound. They don't do much with music or score, and you can notice this even in transition screens. There's just kind of nothing going on, which feels just kind of odd. I feel like there should be more sound. And then for a game that leans on suspense and having to constantly look out for danger, something that really builds that experience up is some tremendous spooky music. That's practically absent in this game, and you can understand why, because the player is making their own mission with their own theme and different vibes, so it's going to be hard to be able to have that as a constant when everything is supposed to be so customizable. But that is something that they should look into being able to integrate, because it does feel like something that's really missing and that could enhance the suspense. In-game, I also noticed the most frequent detractor to missions were that there wasn't much going on after you take the gen mat, because usually maps will be designed by players to try to trap you leading up to the final objective, and once you claim it, sure, you're still checking everything to make sure you don't die, but it's a lot less interesting and dynamic. So I'd like if there was kind of like a trap reset where there's a bit more of an allowance where people can have more traps after the gen mat is actually acquired. Most of the other things to talk about are currency balance. It would be good if there was more clarity on how the different currencies work and how to best earn them, because very little is explained in this game in general, so you might make a bad purchase. Like, I bought the shield as my weapon, and I realized I did not want that to replace either of my weapons, and never got a new weapon in my playtime. Because it takes a while to earn these things, there's not a lot of info given to you across the board. I thought it was gonna be what I put in my R1 slot. What are these gold orby things? Oh. Wait, what? Oh, so it's like a false wall? I didn't even know that was a thing. And even if you look at the first time they tell you the controls of the game, it's all up there for like 5 seconds and then it's just gone. And usually I'm for players figuring out things by themselves, but I think that this game could be a lot more informative, especially when it comes to that cash. Because also, so I'm kind of hating that I also have to purchase consumables every time, especially early game. That just makes it so I never want to buy a frag grenade ever, because I just want to accumulate everything I can to buy the long-term options. And making it feel like players should never use their abilities early on in a game is not a good way to make it feel exciting and limits them from trying new things. But I think this game is worth a try. I think it's interesting, has some great potential. Also, if you're really looking for something a little bit more intense, there are going to be missions that are way more hectic. Almost everything I played and showed is the normal challenge, and then there's also dangerous and brutal. Here's a little sample of what like dangerous looks like. Oh, hey there, guys. I'm dead, right? Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready for dangerous, but there's a lot to learn in this game, a lot of interesting aspects of it. I would recommend trying it out yourself. And as you get through some of the unknowns and strange elements in the start, it'll start to feel more smooth, more satisfying, and a good time. That's it for this first 2 review. Peace out.